These are all pretty long. I just got here and got mine.
Testing, testing, testing.
Oh, I'm so excited. Hi. Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh, well, I'm not leaving. I'm stepping back like David and Mary.
Oh, yeah, they disappear.
Oh, yeah, I'm so salty. Do I have to have this for the super? I'm very happy. I'm very happy that Mary Beth has her grandbabies now, what, 4 or 5 months old? And she's had her back surgery, and so I'm out of here before something else. Well, it's Carrollton. But I'm really glad that 20-something miles from McKinney and Montrose drive over here. And board meetings are things, so you don't have to be a meeting past president anymore. Oh, yeah, well. I don't think I can be Well, I'm not really gone, I'm just not gonna say.
Oh, Dan's on. Oh, good.
All right, how does this testing, oh, it does work.
Let's see.
Don't let me take it home.
Let's see. I won't. Let's see. Where did I get the little pop-up?
Oh, that was me.
I'm trying to get that bar back. Oh, there it is. How do you get that bar to show up? There it is. Okay.
See Zach. Frank said I'm supposed to call on Zach, but I don't see Zach.
Oh, that's okay. I just told Frank I was going to ask Zach to be our Zoom coordinator for the future.
I hope he can do it.
No.
Are you nervous? No.
I just know. I just don't delegate stuff.
Yes. Right. So if you need me to do something, just say, don't do that. You don't even have to ask. Say, could you do it?
I'm going to get somebody to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, Ryan said she wanted to vice president. She just told me she has to be at school so much. So she couldn't have all the. So we're looking for a vice president.
Not this week, but because it'd be very hard to do, let's just start. If you're touching somebody out there, say,
Don't forget, you're not a raffle. Make a donation for the not a raffle drawing over with Josephine in the purple shirt. You get 6 tickets for $5, 1 ticket for $1, and I see a few made plans and we can
Pop-up, okay? Is that it? Yep, it's gonna be the extended version, not the short version.
Right, it's OW extended. Gotcha. Okay, I've got another slide I'm gonna show first. Right here. And you're in Mineral Wells, and you have an area.
I cover 31 counties.
Oh my gosh. My friend's,
It gets busy.
my friend's son is based in Granbury, I think. I don't know. His last name is Redout. He's brand new. I don't know.
Is he in our course
Yeah,
inventory
yeah.
group and he just started?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. We kind
I
of,
think
that
he's
office
Granbury.
seems to be a,
That's kind of vague, isn't it?
well, no, it's not. That's our, the people that are in the Granbury office are primarily FIA, but they, unfortunately, the office seems to be overflowing more with people. So we just lost someone in that office going out. He went transfer over to Urban. And so now, like, we're waiting for, I have no idea if they hired someone else to this.
Yeah, I figured if he got a job there, I figured it must be.
That, unfortunately, that one is. I think it's mainly people get into FIA and then they don't necessarily like it because it's so repetitive. Like, all you're doing is you go out and measure trees every single day and do the exact same thing every day. Then you have, they're gonna stack up the
Yeah.
of what all you need to measure. And what
Everyone
watts.
sign in,
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it.
Okay.
and also, yes, we appreciate it if you sign a guest form sheet. It's not a form, it's just a sheet.
How's it going?
Look at all those people here on Zoom.
They said, hey, you're noisy.
How many do we have?
We have 24 on Zoom, counting us. So I'd say that, and well, and some folks are, there's 2 for 1, the Han comps. Good. Ooh, my battery is running low. You might want to plug in your PC. It's plugged in on one end.
It's always something. Okay, there we go. How's that?
Yeah. It'll take us about 5 minutes. Anyone who's here, if you've been waiting for your certificate or your recertification or milestone pins, and Carol brings them to every meeting. So please go check, see if your name is there. Right? Get those recertification and milestone pins so Carol doesn't have to keep bringing them back and forth. It got so quiet. That's right. Ooh, breathlessly, that's not good. Welcome to the May 2024 monthly meeting of the Cross Timbers chapter of Texas Master Naturalists. Welcome to the 29 participants that are, oh, it's 30, it's going up like the stock market. The participants that are here on Zoom. And we're trying this new lavalier. It sounds like it's the word lavalier. Yeah, it sounds like a hand soap or something. Microphone, we're trying that out this time. And welcome to the folks who are here in person. If you're a guest, would you just, I won't make you stand, just wave your hand. Oh, it's nice to have you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. My name is Sharon Hamilton, and I'm looking for the other announcements I have to make before we start with our program. On June the 1st, there will be a bio blitz at Molly Holler Wildscape in Arlington. And Frank, would you turn around and wave your hand if you're interested in participating? Let Frank Keeney know. And he assures me he will be sending out an email to all the active members. June the 18th is our open house for our 2024 class, training class. It just keeps on moving. That orbit around the sun of this planet just keeps going fast, it seems like.
And it will be here at the Botanic Garden. If you are listening to us, or if you're a guest here and are interested in learning more about being a member, please go to our website, which you can get to from www.ctmn.org. If you're at a new location and it's not saved in your internet, it may send you to Central Texas Master Naturalist. No, this is Cross Timbers Master Naturalist chapter. So kind of be aware of that. And I don't know what the deal is when I went to a different location and got on my email and it thought
It's worldwide.
it should, but for some reason it doesn't, even though it's, yeah. You can also go TXMN, that's for TexasMasterNaturalist.org / or whatever slash it is, Cross Timbers. So, and what we'd like you to do if you're interested in learning more is we'd like you to fill out the little online, very brief form so we can communicate with you. All right. That's the open house. And if you're interested in joining and you want to make sure that you have all the qualifications that our selection committee looks for, go ahead and start volunteering. You don't have to be a member of Cross Timbers chapter to volunteer. And Molly Holler Wildscape is one location. The Fort Worth Nature Center is a location. And if you ask just about any member who's here, they can tell you, 5 or 10 more locations for volunteering. The Southwest Sub Courthouse, the River Legacy in Arlington. It's and we have some in Parker County. We have 2 or 3 in Parker County. I think that's about all I'm going to say for now. And Mary Beth, if you'll introduce our speaker, I get to take this off. Thank you.
This is, whoops. Hold on. That'll happen to me. Happen to you too.
New technology.
Okay. Move this off to the side. This is actually,
Yeah, you gotta have it really close.
oh, really close? Like there? How's that?
Use the microphone.
I'll just hold it. How's that?
That's good.
Is that okay? Okay, I'll just hold it. Okay. This is actually, thank Sharon Hamilton. Night. And Sharon has been our president for 3.5 years, and she has moved from Fort Worth to Carrollton to be close to her daughter and her daughter's family, which includes 2 granddaughters. And I want to tell you something about Sharon. She'll be stepping down as president, and as vice president, you'll be stuck with me at least till the end of her term. And she's a retired high school science department chair and science teacher from Country Day. How many years was that?
39.
39. Wow, admirable. She was the class of 2006 for CTMN, but because of her commitments, she's certified finally in 2017. So it's okay. But once she's certified, look at everything she did. She was an outreach person, set up the table, went to places and represented CTMN for 3 years, 2018 to 2020. She was a chapter president for 3.5 years. She volunteered. She met her 100,000 hour volunteer mark last year in September. In 2023, I just looked at a snapshot. She volunteered 112 hours of administrative work as president. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And she kept us stable and well guided, and we followed all the rules. We met all the state guidelines. So here's some of the things that she did to keep our chapter running. She attended a once a month president's meeting with all of the presidents for Texas Master Naturalists. That was online, of course. She led each of our monthly chapter meetings. She prepared and led and organized each monthly board meeting. She created a budget for our chapter. She sent numerous emails corresponding of chapter business. She served on the training committee. She edited the CTMN handbook. She wrote an excellent column for each month's newsletter. And she attended the State Master Naturalist annual meetings several times. So Sharon, if you'd come back up here.
Oh.
We have a little token of our appreciation.
Oh, look
for
at
you.
that.
The state bird and the state flag.
Can they see it?
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
And we've got a card for you.
Oh, thank
And if
you.
you haven't signed the card, it's over there on the table.
It's beautiful, thanks.
You're welcome. And we are going to, if I can figure this thing out, we are going to turn this over to Kimberlee Peterson. So glad to have you here. She is a
Woodland ecologist with the Texas A&M Forest Service.
okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And you know how to do this better than me.
Yeah. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Kimberlee Peterson. I'm the woodland ecologist for this region with the Texas A&M Forest Service. I cover 31 counties here in North Central Texas, so nice big old area. I actually grew up not too far from here. I'm actually from South Arlington, Mansfield area originally. Now my office is in Mineral Wells. But I have a bachelor's of science degree in wildlife ecosystem sustainability.
Could you share that with the group? That's not here.
Well, we almost lost the mic. That was fun. Am I? Okay, cool. Okay, sorry. If I wonder, I'm sorry. I like to wonder a little bit. So I have a bachelor's of science in wildlife ecosystem sustainability science from Tarleton State University, and I have a master's of science in ag and natural resources. My thesis research actually looked at little bluestem and its phenotypic differences, not just off of where its original geographic location was at, but also looking at how it responded to different harvest regimens. Okay, so we looked at nutritional value and then also how it looked, you know, how tall did it get, how much leafy material did it provide, so forth. I've been working for the A&M system for about 7 years now. The first 4 years I worked at AgriLife Research in Stephenville on native seed research and then also prairie restoration work. And then I've been with the Texas A&M Forest Service for the last almost 3 years. My 3 years will hit in November. So there is a, they keep doing a voodoo.
Let's hide that. Do you know how to hide it? I don't know.
I saw hide floating, keep going, down, there.
Ah, okay, cool. Oh, look at y'all. They're so smart. Okay. So I'm not actually holding this thing.
Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, that's actually really good because then people in here can actually see the coloring that I'm pointing at on the screen. And I'm sorry, okay, I need to stay in front of this camera is what y'all are telling me, right?
I can move
Is what the
around.
whole,
I can move the camera around.
okay,
There's a pointer if you need one.
it's here.
If it works.
A little bit closer. Is that good? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so today we're gonna be talking about oak wilt and we're gonna be talking about one, how do we identify it and how do we manage it? We're also gonna be going through some of the programs that Texas A&M Forest Service has. They're available for the landowners and kind of through our process in identifying it. The website below, texasoakwilt.org, is going to be a very useful tool for y'all. I highly recommend going there. We have a lot of different information on there on one, how to identify it, vendors that are qualified in identifying oak wilt and oak wilt treatment, as well as trenching. We also have videos on there, one of them being how to take a sample for oak wilt, and then how to submit that to the lab for a proper identification. So that right there is going to be very helpful tool for y'all. Okay. That don't work. Okay. There we go. Okay. So first off, what is oak wilt? So oak wilt is a fungus. This fungus is called Brachyzilla phagocerum. Okay. Scientific names kind of sound like you're going to summon a demon, so just kind of roll with it. If you say it wrong, no one's going to question you. Just say it with confidence and you're good. Okay. So what this is, it's a primary vascular pathogen or disease in oak trees. Okay. This is only going to occur in oak trees. Okay, that's really important. I get a lot of people that freak out about their elm trees and some other species, thinking that it's oak wilt, when in fact it's not. It's in the name oak wilt. So that's very specific. So what is happening is that this fungus invades the water conducting vessels in the tree. Those vessels are the xylem. Okay. There's two different vessels inside the tree. The xylem moves water and nutrients up. The phloem is what brings sugars down. Okay, so what we're mainly concerned about is going to be the xylem. The oak wilt fungus never affects the phloem. Okay, so basically the tree is responding to that fungus by plugging up those xylem vessels and preventing the tree from being able to get water and nutrients. So it basically chokes itself out. Okay. All right, so the impact of oak wilt. All right, thousands of acres throughout Central and West Texas have been affected by oak wilt. Okay, oak wilt can reduce property value anywhere from 15 to 20%. Okay, that is a huge percentage. So we want to make sure that we're staying on top of this. Okay, whenever I'm out on a property and I identify oak wilt, I generally recommend that people be neighborly and let their neighbors know, like, hey, just FYI, we had a positive ID for oak wilt. You may want to consider having your trees treated, or you'll need to start looking for other options. Okay, be the neighbor. You know, we're all Texans. We're all very friendly people, I think, sometimes. But we want to make sure that it all depends, right? But we want to make sure that people are aware and know this, because it does decrease property value so much, right? That's extremely important. All right, so where is oak wilt? So in the United States, you can see all those yellow highlighted counties. So that is the spread of oak wilt here in the United States. It's a pretty wide span. Okay. Here's oak wilt in Texas. So far, these are the counties that have been confirmed as of 2019. We have not added any new counties. Okay. This is really where it stands at the moment. How we end up adding these counties, we can't just go to a site and say, yep, you have oak wilt, and then add it to our nice little pretty map, right? We have to have a lab sample be verified. Okay, so we'll send a sample in. It has to be verified by the lab before we will add it to our list. Okay, because we really want to make sure that we're identifying it correctly and that we know for sure that there's oak wilt there, so that we can make those meet those necessary needs, right? Oak wilt was first detected in Texas in 1961. So it's been here a while. Okay. And just FYI, I get asked this sometimes, you know, are we going to ever get rid of oak wilt? Are we ever going to be able to, you know, eradicate it? No. We will be dealing with this forever. It is just something that we have to learn how to manage moving forward. Okay. All right. So what trees are susceptible? Okay, all oak trees are susceptible to oak wilt. Okay, depending on the type of oak, that is going to depend, you know, what type of oak is, you know, they're going to respond to oak wilt a little bit different. So our red oaks, these are going to be the ones that are most susceptible to oak wilt. These are the ones that when they get it, they have 100% mortality. Okay. And they also play a very unique role in the spread of the disease. We'll go into that a little bit further. But what they do is they create what we call fungal mats. Again, we're going to go over what fungal mats are in a little bit. White oaks. Okay, so these are going to be like your bur oaks or your post oaks. These are going to be more resistant to the oak wilt fungus. Okay, for some reason, we don't exactly know why, they're able to better compartmentalize themselves against the fungus. Okay, that doesn't mean that they can't get it, because they can most definitely get oak wilt. It's just not something that we really ever see. Okay, so if you tell me that your post oak has oak wilt, I'm going to go to something else way before I go to oak wilt. Okay, because we just don't really see it out in the field. Live oaks. These are going to be intermediate in their susceptibility to the fungus. Okay, however, live oaks will graft their root systems together. So they play a very important role in the spread of the fungus, because let's say you have a live oak over here, and then 50 feet away, you have another live oak. Okay, those roots can be grafted together. Okay, and they can spread that fungus through the root system. It's not in the soil, it's in the root, pass it over to the next tree. Okay, so that's how we've seen the vast spread of oak wilt, especially in Central Texas. Okay, for some reason, people here in the state love their oak trees, especially their live oaks. People are very, very protective of their live oaks. But unfortunately, we have oak wilt here. Okay, and unfortunately, live oaks can pass that fungus through the root system by grafting those roots. So it's really important to think about. Okay. All right, so just to show you, this is kind of how you can see the difference. So the tree that is still alive is that more resistant post oak. The tree that is dead is going to be the susceptible live oak. Okay, just to kind of give y'all an image. That post oak looks perfectly healthy, right? So they just are able to compartmentalize themselves a little bit better against that fungus. And so they basically just stop it from being able to spread throughout. And again, we don't exactly know the reason behind this. Science hasn't been able to figure that out, but we know that they're able to do that. All right, so how is oak wilt spread? So there's two different ways, but the above ground way, or the long distance way, is going to be by these sap feeding beetles, okay, that carry the fungal spores. Okay, so the fungal spores are then picked up on certain infected red oaks. Okay, and that's very specific, certain infected red oaks, and then carried to fresh wounds on another species of oak. Okay, these little tiny little sap feeding beetles are extremely tiny. So that picture on the left, that's a dime. Those two little tiny dots, that's the beetles.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so extremely tiny, and there is a wide span of these species. Okay, it's a genus of beetle that does this. Okay, it's not just one singular species, it's going to be a whole group of them. Okay, in one single genus. The picture in the middle is what is a fungal mat on a red oak. Okay, only red oaks produce fungal mats. Okay, it's extremely important. But what the fungal mat is basically just an area where that fungus reproduces. Okay, and then those fungal spores are picked up by that beetle and again are moved over to that fresh wound on an oak tree that hasn't been painted. That's why you always hear people say you need to paint the wounds on your oak trees. This is why. Okay, so I do want to touch on the whole certain infected red oaks. Okay, it all depends on when that red oak was infected. Okay, if the red oak starts to die in spring, early summer, it will not produce a fungal mat the following spring. Okay, because the fungus cannot handle heat. Okay, so it cannot survive the summer. But if that red oak is infected in late summer, early fall, then it can produce a fungal mat the following spring. Okay, so that's where that distinction is at. Okay, again, how is oak wilt spread? We're moving on to the underground or the localized version of how it's spread, or those interconnected root systems. Okay, so this primarily occurs in live oaks, but live oaks can also graft their roots to red oaks. Okay, so that's how that can also get spread over to your red oak tree. Okay, on average, the rate of spread is about 75 feet per year. Okay, this is going to heavily depend on how much precipitation we get. Okay, so the more precipitation we get, the more it spreads. We've had a lot of rain this year, haven't we? I mean, I'm not going to complain. We really need it. especially after the last few years of drought, but we will probably see a lot more spread of this fungus over this year because of all this rainfall. Okay, so that's something we need to keep in the back of our minds. So in the bottom right photo, I don't know if everyone over here could see it, but that's just showing you those grafted roots. Okay, just showing you how they've kind of been combined together. Okay. I also want to touch on this live oak motte. So let's say we started on with oak wilt on the right hand side of that motte. Okay. Eventually that entire motte is going to be dead. Okay. That motte is actually one tree. Okay. It's going to be one mother tree that has then sent up shoots, and that's what creates that motte. So they're all connected by one root system. They're all one tree. Okay. So even if it starts on one side, it is eventually going to kill off that entire motte. Okay. That's something to keep in mind. All right. So when we look at oak wilt in live oaks, okay, we're going to see rapid defoliation. We also see death in about 3 to 6 months. We see that spread from adjacent trees. Okay, so whenever I go out on an oak wilt site visit, I'm looking for a pattern of mortality. Okay, so if I've seen some live oaks over here that have already died and I kind of see a pattern going on, it's a pretty good indication that we're dealing with oak wilt. Okay, they do not produce a fungal mat. It's extremely important. I get so many phone calls from people saying that my post oak or my live oak has fungal mats. They cannot have a fungal mat. Okay, it's only your red oaks. Okay, without treatment, live oaks have a 5 to 50% survival rate. It's extremely low. Okay, your leaf symptoms are going to include veinal necrosis, vein banding, tip burn, and marginal necrosis. Okay, veinal necrosis is going to be the most common. Okay, that's what you see here in this picture, where that vein color is going to be like a rusty red. There's going to be somewhat of a yellow halo around that red, and then the rest of the leaf is going to be green. Okay, this kind of goes through some of those other symptoms that you're going to see. On the left, you're going to see tip burn. Okay, so you notice that tip of the leaf is going to be burned, right? It's going to be that nice crispy brown. On the right-hand side is going to be the vein banding. Okay. Problem with the tip burn symptom. This is also a very common symptom for drought stress. Okay. Unfortunately, this last year's drought and heat was causing perfect veinal necrosis on trees. Further south, I have a coworker down in the Kerrville office. She found a live oak that had perfect veinal necrosis. She had it tested, ended up just being drought stress. It tested negative for oak wilt. Okay, so depending on the year, those foliar symptoms are not an obvious sign. Okay, it got to a certain point last year that I was recommending that people had a sample sent to the lab and get a positive ID before they made any other steps. Okay, oak wilt is expensive to treat. Okay, and if you can hold off a little bit, I would hold off. Okay, that's my opinion. I'd much rather spend $35 on having a test run than thousands of dollars for treatments. Okay. All right, oak wilt and red oaks. Okay, so these are typically going to maintain their leaves and then they defoliate. Okay, they're going to hold on to them. Okay, it's not going to be an immediate drop like how you sometimes see during the summertime when the leaves turn brown and then they just drop off. These are going to hold it. Okay, it's also going to be a fall red, not brown, but fall red. And it's going to be happening during a time of year that you don't expect it to be that color. So if you start seeing fall red color on your red oak, you're looking at possibly oak wilt. Okay. You're also going to see flagging. Okay. What flagging is if you look on this right top photo, okay, one area of the canopy has started to turn that reddish kind of color. Eventually another area of the tree is going to turn that reddish color. Eventually the whole canopy turns it. Okay, so that's what's flagging. It generally starts at the top of the tree before it moves down. Okay, so that's another indicator. If it started at the bottom, it's possibly something else. Okay, on average for red oaks, death in about 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, and they have 100% mortality. Okay, even if you catch it early on, if you just start seeing the symptoms, It's not recommended to do a treatment because it's going to be really expensive and there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to save that tree. Okay, because again, 100% mortality. A lot of times by the time you catch it, it's already too far gone. Okay. There is a chance of possible spread to adjacent trees, again, from that fungal mat, but also, you know, live oaks, again, can graft their root systems to red oaks. So it could potentially spread that way. Okay. Sometimes you'll see bronzing on the leaves. I don't see that often. A lot of times I see the whole leaf has turned that fall red color. Okay. All right, so going into those fungal mats. Okay, so the fungal mats are what are going to contain those oak wilt fungal spores, as I mentioned. Again, only going to form on those infected red oaks. I can't emphasize that enough. Okay, these mats are going to form underneath the bark, and then each tree can have multiple mats. Okay, it's not limited to just one mat per tree. It can be all the way up and down that trunk of the tree. Okay, it also produces a nice sweet smell, kind of like rotting fruit. Okay, so if you're walking through a forested area and you start smelling some sweet rotting fruit, you should not be smelling that in a forested area for one, but if you do, you're possibly passing by a fungal mat. Okay. Again, going into when they're going to produce or what's the likelihood of them producing those fungal mats. If the tree is infected in the fall, winter time, those are the trees that are most likely to produce that fungal mat the following spring. Again, this fungus does not like heat. It doesn't do well in heat. Okay, even during the summertime, a lot of times we find once it starts getting really hot, that fungus starts moving further down into the trunk of the tree and even into the root system. It doesn't like to hang out up in the canopy of the tree where those branches are really thin because it just gets too hot up there. Okay, it's going to kind of seep back down into the soil. Okay, where it's nice and cool. And I say soil, it's really the root system not living in the soil. Okay. Mat production is accelerated by cool, moist weather, typically in the springtime. But as we all know, if you've lived in Texas long enough, Texas weather is very much bipolar and it changes every single day, or it can change multiple times in a day. That's just how it works here in the state, right? All right, lab samples. Okay, samples can be taken and sent to the lab to confirm the presence of oak wilt. I highly, highly recommend doing this. Okay, if I am available, I am more than happy to come out and take a sample for you. You're just responsible for shipping that sample after I take it. Okay, the most expensive process or part of all of that is going to be shipping that sample because it has to be overnighted to the lab. Okay, but I am happy to go out and take that sample for you. Okay, again, on that oakwilt.org website, we have a video on how to take that sample. Okay, if you go on there, you're going to go onto the video tab, and then underneath there, it's like the identification and prevention. Click on that, and it's like the third video down. Okay, very, very easy to follow video. A coworker of mine and Dr. David Apple, who is the lead researcher of oak wilt here in the state, made that video for landowners to be able to follow. Okay. For more information, you can contact the Texas Plant Disease Diagnostic Lab. Their contact information is here at the bottom of that screen. Okay. There is a form that you would need to get that you'll submit along with them. If you need that form, I'm happy to email it over to you. Okay. Unfortunately, I kind of forgot my business cards at the office, but I have my contact information at the end of this presentation that you're more than welcome to take a picture of, or I can write it down for you. Okay. All right, so oak wilt management. There is no cure for oak wilt, okay? But managing the disease can significantly reduce tree losses. Okay, that's the biggest thing. There is no cure. Okay, even if you were to treat your tree, if it, let's say you have a live oak and you treated it pretty early on when it started showing symptoms, you're gonna have to keep retreating it. Okay, because that fungicide that they use does not go into the root system. It only moves up because we are injecting it into the xylem vessels. Okay, that's really important. So it only moves upward. Okay, so the fungus will still hang out in that root system. Okay, and the treatment only protects that one individual tree that you inject. We're gonna get more into that as we go forward. All right, so when we talk about oak wilt management, early detection and prompt action are essential for the successful management of oak wilt. Okay. I absolutely hate it when people call me at the very end of that tree's life and are like, what's happening to my tree? And have to tell them, well, that tree is going to die. There's nothing you can do. Oftentimes I feel like I'm the tree grim reaper. So that's kind of fun. Not really. When I first started, I was very sad about that little title I gave myself. But the 4 key management practices when we talk about oak wilt is going to be prevention, planting other trees, trenching, and then the fungicide injections. Okay. Whenever I say planting other trees, I mean planting other species other than an oak tree. Okay. If you know that you have oak wilt in the area, please don't plant an oak tree, especially not right back in the same spot. Okay. Unfortunately, there is an HOA in the Dallas area that I had a landowner call me and ask me what he was supposed to do because they have oak wilt and they keep having to replace that same tree over and over again because the HOA has a guideline that says that the tree in their yard has to be a red oak and it has to be planted in that exact same spot because this HOA wants a specific look. So that is something to think about. So if you know that you have oak wilt, please don't plant another oak tree. Just go with another species. There's a lot of other wonderful species out there that you can choose from. All right, pruning. Okay, that's extremely important. Okay, peak beetle activity and fungal mat production occur in the spring. Okay, therefore we recommend to avoid pruning or wounding a tree from February through June. Okay, unless there's immediate safety concern. Okay, let's say you have a huge limb that's overhanging your house and you're concerned that it is going to fall on your house, then by all means, please remove that limb because we don't need to have safety concerns. Okay. But regardless of the season, okay, you need to make sure that you're painting that wound immediately, no later than 3 days. Okay, but ideally immediately after that cut is made. Anything that is bigger than the diameter of your pinky, that's what you need to paint. Okay. The paint is going to discourage beetles from visiting that fresh wound because that oak wound produces a sweet, sappy smell. Okay, that's what's attracting those beetles. Okay, they're attracted to that sweet, sappy scent. Okay, so we want to discourage that. You can use either regular pruning spray or just spray paint. Okay, if you want to get fun with it, you can do multiple colors. I've had landowners do that because that's the spray paint they had on hand, and now they have a rainbow forest. So if you want to get fun, that's more than you can definitely do that. All right, beetle activity. Okay, the beetles are active year round. Okay, so that's important to note. And they could be carrying those fungal spores year round. Okay, but again, that peak activity is going to occur February through June. This is going to vary greatly with the weather conditions. Okay, again, Texas is extremely unpredictable, and so we could see fluctuations there. Okay, and again, making sure that we're painting those open wounds or cuts immediately and making sure that you're doing it every time. Again, on that oak wilt website, we have information on how to make a pole sprayer. It's essentially taking PVC pipe and attaching a can of spray paint to it so that you can reach those high up branches. Okay, so we have a guide on how to make one of those because honestly, it's not always safe to climb onto your ladder to reach those high up places. So a pole sprayer is the nice little tool that you can use. Okay, and also we're human. We make a lot of mistakes and we damage things when we really shouldn't be. Weed eaters are not your friend when it comes to wounding your trees. They can definitely open a wound on your tree, and so do lawnmowers. So teenagers with a lawnmower, dangerous. Just FYI, they will hit the trees without really meaning to sometimes, or if they're mad that you made them go out there and mow, you know, they'll damage that tree. So keep that in mind. All right, red oaks and firewood. Okay, if you have an infected red oak, you need to destroy it. Okay, sooner rather than later. Okay, you can do this by burning, chipping, or burying it. Okay, this prevents it from producing that fungal mat. Okay, and I recommend doing this even if your tree was infected in the early summer, springtime. Okay, just go ahead and destroy it. Better be safe than sorry. Okay, also, you'd be surprised how many people don't know the difference between a red oak, a white oak, and a live oak. Okay, if you don't know what you're looking at, better be safe than sorry and just get rid of it. Okay, so there is a rumor that has gone around. How many of y'all have heard it where the fungal spores spread in the smoke? Oh, no one. Okay, cool. I get asked that all the time. Yeah, the fungal spores spread in the smoke. I've been told that. People have asked if that's true. It is false. The fungal spores do not spread in the smoke. Okay. Chipping. The chipping process or the mulching process heats up the wood enough that it kills the fungus. Okay. So people oftentimes are worried about that as well. But the chipping process heats up the wood to where it kills off that fungus. Okay, so that is an option, especially if we're in a burn ban. Please don't burn if we're in a burn ban. If neither one of those things is an option, you can definitely bury it. Okay. Please do not let the company who came in to cut down your trees remove that infected wood to a new area. Do not let them. If they say, oh, we have to remove it to a new area, do not listen to them. It needs to be destroyed on site where it was cut down. Okay. That's very, very important. With your infected red oaks, never use them for firewood. Okay. Storing that wood for firewood leads to potential the red oak wood from producing that fungal mat. Okay. We do not want those fungal mats to be produced. Okay. So don't ever store that as firewood. Okay. Also, do not travel with it. Do y'all remember that map that I showed you at the beginning of Texas? Okay. There's a county way up in the panhandle. That's Lubbock. Okay. There is oak wilt in Lubbock. And it got moved by firewood. So we don't want to move that firewood. Also, it's also just good practice. Don't move it out of your county. But we also have emerald ash borer here. So if you don't know what an ash tree looks like, please don't move firewood either. That's just really important. Prevention for your white and live oaks with their firewood. So with your white or live oaks, you can use the dry firewood. It needs to be well seasoned. You need to leave it for at least a year before you move it. Okay. So whenever you cut that tree down, it needs to stay where it was. Okay. Before you move it to a new area, just to be safe. Okay. Again, don't store that infected wood nearby healthy trees. Okay. That's really important. But again, if you don't know the difference between a red oak, white oak, or a live oak, just destroy it. Okay, better be safe than sorry. All right, planting other trees. So we want to make sure that we're selecting trees that are native or adapted to your environment. Okay, these are going to be the trees that can tolerate our extreme temperatures and weather conditions. That's really, really important. We've had some pretty extreme weather events over the last few years. Starting with that winter storm of 21, and then we've had a drought the last 2 years. Okay, our non-native trees that require a lot of water are not going to be able to handle that as well. I have seen so many magnolia trees dying west of here. Okay, I haven't gotten so many calls in the Fort Worth area, but definitely west of here, I'm getting tons of calls about magnolia trees dying. So just keep that in mind. We also want to make sure that we're not planting trees that are going to be invasive or detrimental to our local environment. Okay, how many of y'all love Vitex trees?
Not this group.
Not this group? Oh, cool. Okay, so so many people love Vitex, huh?
I like them on the highway.
They're very, very pretty. Okay, I will give y'all that. I don't necessarily have a distaste for them if people understand that they can be invasive. You know, they're extremely drought tolerant trees. They do really well in our environment, but whenever you get them into an urban area, for whatever reason, people in urban areas love to overwater. And so that's when they become invasive, is whenever you give them too much water. Okay. If you're not familiar with it, they're actually native to the Mediterranean area of the world. So.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what tree you talked about.
Vitex.
Oh.
It's that really pretty one that has purple flowers. Very popular in urban areas. We also want to make sure that we're choosing trees that are suitable for the space available. Okay, so right tree, right place. This is extremely important. Okay, we want to make sure that we're providing that tree enough room not only to grow up, but out. Okay, I had someone ask me a question about their pecan tree on what they should do because someone decided it was a great idea to plant a pecan tree within 3 feet of their house. Okay. You need to make sure that you have enough room for that tree to grow outward. I told them the only solution was either move your house or cut down the tree. Those are your options. There's no other option other than that. They didn't necessarily like my answer, but that's all I had for them. So, all right, going on with the planting other trees. We want to make sure that we're avoiding planting monocultures. What that means is planting only one species. We need to have a variety of species. Okay. We also want to have a variety of ages. Okay. If you only, like, let's say you own a piece of property and you remove every little young tree and kept all the mature trees. Okay. You're basically opening yourself up to, at some point, that same age class is going to die. Okay. At some point, that's going to happen. Also, you plant only one species of tree. Let's say you only do live oaks. Well, congratulations, oak wilt comes and you lose everything. Okay, so we want to make sure that we are having a variety of genetics, but also ages. Extremely important. Okay, this is going to create diversity in the landscape. It's going to benefit our wildlife greatly. Okay, provides multiple food resources, and it also provides a lot of pollinators habitat. Okay, there's a lot of species out there of trees that provide are basically larval hosts for a lot of our butterflies and our moths. So it's really important to remember. We also want to make sure that we're avoiding wounding any oaks during planting. So if you do plant an oak, try to avoid wounding it. If you are having a house built somewhere and there is equipment everywhere, try to not, try to put it like a fence around those trees a little bit, just so that, the equipment doesn't accidentally ding those oak trees. That's extremely important. Okay. So again, that texasoakwilt.org website is down there. I highly, highly recommend going onto that website. We also have county maps on there where we show some oak wilt centers. We put a 1/4 of a mile buffer around those centers, so you can't figure out where that home is at, because privacy. But we don't have a map available for Tarrant or Dallas counties. Okay, and the reason for that is that I have to be contacted to go out and map those oak wilt centers, and I oftentimes don't get contacted. So if you notice that, hey, there's no map for Tarrant or Dallas County, it's because I wasn't contacted to go out and map those centers. And if I don't have that data, we can't make that map. Okay. All right. So planting other trees, oftentimes people ask me, well, what tree should I plant? I often send them to this tool right here. It's our Texas tree planting or Texas tree selector guide. Very, very helpful. Okay. You can go on there. If you type in Texas tree selector into Google, it will pop up. It should be the very first thing that pops up. You'll click it and then you'll go to this page. If you click on custom tree selector, you can choose different attributes that you're looking for. Okay, so it's very helpful. It narrows it down to what you're looking for, not what I like. Okay, because what I like, I've learned a lot of people don't like. So people have a huge distaste for cedar elm because of the seed that they produce. I happen to really like cedar elm. You also need to know that bur oaks produce huge acorns. A lot of people don't realize that, but I've been asked, is a bur oak a good tree to plant near my driveway? And I told them no, because you're going to have hail damage. So that's something to keep in mind whenever you're choosing a tree, is what type of seed do they produce? How big are they going to get? And all of that you can select that in this lovely little guide. All right, so the best time to plant a tree here in the state is going to be in the fall. Texas Arbor Day, I forgot to change the date. That date is wrong, obviously, because it says 2022. Texas Arbor Day is the first Friday in November. This year it is November 1st. Okay, that is the best time of year to plant a tree here in the state. Okay, the reason why is because we don't typically get cold enough here for the soil to freeze. Okay, this excludes 2021. Okay, excludes 2021, but we typically do not get cold enough here for the soil to freeze, so it allows for the root system to be able to get better established before our hot, droughty summers. Okay, ideally, you should not plant a tree here in the state after March. Okay, I know that every single lawn and garden center is packed full of trees this time of year. Okay, don't listen to them. Your tree will die, I promise. Or else you're gonna have to baby it even more so. So if you're wanting to plant a tree or a shrub here in the state, definitely do it in the fall. Anywhere between Halloween and Thanksgiving is optimal. All right. So this right here, that kind of just walks you through what you would see whenever you select that custom tree selector. So you would select what county you're in and then fill out what attributes you are looking for. And then after you've selected, it provides you a nice list, okay, based off of those attributes that you chose, okay? It also provides nice little pictures. All right, trenching. Okay, the goal for trenching is to halt the spread of oak wilt through the root system. Okay, so it's breaking up that interconnected root system to stop that spread. Okay, trenches, in order to be accurate, to be able to actually be useful, they need to be placed a minimum of 100 feet ahead of the disease. Okay, and they need to be dug at least 4 feet deep. Okay, it does not matter the width of the trench, only matters the depth. So say you have extremely rocky soil, you can get a rock saw. As long as it goes down 4 feet, you're good. Okay. Sometimes you'll have to go deeper depending on the site, but generally about 4 feet is adequate. Okay. What this is doing, again, is severing all of those root connections. Okay. That has to happen to be effective. Okay. So on this slide, you can see in this picture, we have the orange dot is going to be the diseased tree. We've gone 100 feet past that drip line of that tree. Okay, it's not the trunk of the tree, it's the drip line of that infected tree. We go 100 feet out. Okay, and then we encompass that entire center. Okay, 100 feet out from that one tree. Okay, so whenever I go out, I will mark my center going around the drip line of all those trees that are affected. And I go back to my office and I draw a map going 100 feet out, so that way it's accurate. Okay. Okay, so trenching again. All right, so whenever we go out, we're going to determine that disease perimeter, as I just said. We're going to be looking at those visual symptoms. Okay. We then locate that trench a minimum of 100 feet away from the last diseased tree. Okay, that's really important. The last disease tree, not the first disease, the last disease. Okay. Equipment choice is going to vary depending on the site characteristics. Again, if you have extremely rocky soil, you can use a rock saw. Again, it does not matter the width of that trench, only the depth. Okay, the depth is what is important. Okay, you can even backfill that spot, that trench, with the same soil. Okay, so you don't have to worry about bringing in new soil to fill in that trench line. You can refill it exactly with the same soil, because all we're worried about is cutting up those root systems. Okay, so sometimes people will also opt to push down all their oak trees within that trenched area. This is called roguing. Okay, this basically helps increase the root damage, essentially the root severing, by pushing over those trees and then up, like pulling up all those roots from the soil. Okay, it just kind of helps break up those roots even more. Fungicide injections. Okay, these may be used to protect your highly valued trees. Okay, your best candidates for the injections are going to be your healthy, non-symptomatic trees, your non-symptomatic live oaks, or your red oaks as well. You can do preventative treatments on your red oaks, up to 75 feet to 150 feet away from that symptomatic tree. Okay. Again, injections do not stop the spread of the fungus through the root system. It only protects that one individual tree that you had injected. Okay, so let's say you have a nice little wall of oak trees right here that you've injected all of them. That doesn't act as a barrier. Okay, it can keep on going. Very important. All right. With the fungicide injections, we oftentimes recommend doing the macro system. Okay. Success of this is going to depend on the level of the infection. So if your tree was had been showing symptoms for a long time, was already starting to degrade, there's a chance that these aren't going to really work. But the earlier you catch it, the better. Application rate is also going to make a difference in this. If you only do a little bit of fungicide when your tree actually needs a lot, so proper measurement of the tree's diameter is going to be really important here, because that's going to tell you how much chemical to use. Okay. And then also injection technique. Okay, that's really important. Also time of day. It's best to do this during the morning, and it's also best to do this on a sunny day. Do not do this on a cloudy day. Okay, on a cloudy day, the trees are not photosynthesizing as much and therefore are not as effective at pulling up that fungicide. Okay, so we recommend doing the macro injections using the Alamo brand of fungicide. This is going to be propiconazole is going to be the name of the fungicide. But this has been scientifically proven the most effective treatment. Okay, and you can see around here that they dug out or they used an air spade to blow out the dirt around the root system. And they're able to have multiple injection sites into that root flare. Okay, it opens it up also to more injection sites for the future because injections have to be done every 2 years. So once you start treatment, you can, yeah. We're gonna kind of get into that, I think, on the next slide, I think. Maybe on the next one. The root flare injection advantages, the bark is gonna be thinner below that soil line. Again, it's gonna increase the potential injection sites. It spreads out the wounding, so you're not causing too many wounds in that one singular area. Important thing, you don't have to spray that wound after you've had the injection, the fungicide injected in there, because it's already protected against the fungus. Okay, because that's exactly where the fungicide went, so it's not going to survive. Okay. All right, to hire someone, it costs anywhere from $15 to $20 per diameter inch of the tree. Okay, it's actually gone up. Okay, I've been told that it's actually a little bit closer to $17 to start and ranging a little bit closer to $22. It all depends on what company you end up hiring. Now, these were, granted, very large live oaks that got quoted, and I mean extremely large. Their diameter was bigger than this little podium here. Okay, they were quoted anywhere from $6,000 to $9,000 to treat 2 trees. Okay, but good news, you don't have to have a pesticide license to get a hold of the fungicide. Okay, you can treat these trees yourself if you feel confident enough in doing so. Okay, I generally recommend that someone hire someone to come out and do the injections at least on their most valued tree, and at least once, just to see how it's done. We do have a video on how to do the injections on that Oak Wilt website, but there's only so much detail you can see in a video, right? So watching someone do it, you're able to ask those questions. Sometimes you can convince those companies to sell you their injection kit because those aren't sold on the market already put together. A lot of times they are piecing them together themselves. Okay, so sometimes you can convince them to sell you their little injection kit. Okay, so after the first initial injection, sometimes a second injection is recommended, anywhere from 18 to 24 months after that initial injection. Okay, it just depends. There's also other injection methods. It all just depends on what your budget is. Okay, I have some people that don't do the macro injections and opt to do it themselves and just buy these little tubes that you drill a hole and then squeeze it into the tree. It just depends on what your budget is. Okay, now is that method as effective? Not necessarily. Okay, we do recommend doing the macro injection through the root flare. Okay, but the other one is an option for sure. Okay, so this kind of walks you through that website with the videos. So you click on the videos and then it would give you where you can find that injection instruction. So the Texas A&M Forest Service, we have our Oak Wilt Suppression Project. Okay, I'm just going to read this real quick. The overall goal of Texas A&M Forest Service's cooperative Oak Wilt Suppression Project is to minimize the spread of oak wilt in Central Texas. Okay, what this is a cost share program. Okay, think of the cost share as kind of like a rebate. Okay, you have the work done and then we send you a check. Okay, but there is a process leading up to that. Okay, and lots of paperwork. More on my end, you just get to sign it, but I get to create it, so that's fun. So what these cost shares can be used for is containment trenching around an oak wilt center. Okay, but there's guidelines with that. So again, it has to be a minimum of 4 feet deep, 100 feet out, fully encompassing. Okay, so there's some strict guidelines. Pushing or roguing all the oaks within the boundaries of those cost share trenches is also one of those cost shares. And then removal of diseased red oaks. Okay. The removal of diseased red oaks is going to depend on the time of year that that red oak was infected. Okay. Because again, it's about containment of the disease. Okay. So if your red oak was infected during the spring, early summer, that doesn't qualify for the cost share. Fall time, it qualifies. Okay. So that's the important distinction. So the trenching cost shares, this is going to consist of 40% of the actual cost, not to exceed $1,500 per individual per year, with a maximum of $4,500 per project per year. Okay, so let's say you and your neighbor, you have oak wilt and it has been both y'all's properties, right? But y'all want to trench it to prevent it from spreading to your other trees. Okay, you can go in and each one of y'all would get $1,500 towards that, or up to 40% of that cost. Okay. This is where it gets kind of hard because not every, your neighbor may not have the same budget that you have, right? And so it kind of gets tricky there. Sometimes we can't get neighbors on the same page as far as treatment goes. All right, as far as red oak removal cost shares, again, this is going to consist of 40% of the actual cost, not to exceed $750 per cooperator per year. Okay, I know it's not very much, but at least it's something. It helps cover at least some of those costs. For the trenching, that can cover, rental of equipment, and even also, hiring someone to come and do it. If you hired a company to come and trench. But it does cover the cost of renting that equipment. All right. So the following criteria are required to qualify for the cost shares. So complete containment of the disease center, relative isolation of the disease center from the other disease centers, high potential for fungal mat formation. Again, this is going to be your red oaks, and then compliance with the Cultural Resource Preservation Act. Okay. So we get to go out and do cultural resource trainings every so often. And if we find evidence on your property that that area is a cultural resource site, meaning there's evidence of Native Americans having used that land, like they have broken clay pots, or we find an area where they used to cook their food or anything like that, then it is considered protected and we cannot trench in that area. Okay. And this whole process will end up sending, we'll have a cultural resource check done. So we send all your information down to Austin, and we have nice little files that even if we didn't find evidence, we have it in our system to check. Okay, because we want to make sure that those areas are preserved and protected. So that is a federal law. Yes.
How far can a big, mature, old growth oak put its roots out?
At least 100 feet past the drip line. At least.
100 feet past what?
The drip line?
The drip line.
At least. That's why we say we say 100 feet out for the trench, because they can easily go 100 feet. And then on average, the fungus spreads in the root system about 75 feet per year. So we want to try to be ahead of that fungus. Does that make sense? All right. Items that are not eligible for the cost shares are going to include the removal of dead trees, trenching around healthy stands of trees, secondary trenches, engineering charges, consulting fees, or permit fees, loss or reduction in revenues from the land, stump grinding, fungicide treatments, or replanting or landscaping. Okay, none of these things are included in that cost share. The reason why fungicide treatments are not included in the cost share is because, again, the fungicide treatment does not contain the fungus. Again, it only protects that one tree. Okay, it doesn't prevent it from spreading onward. So that's why it's not included. Okay, so with cost shares, we have this lovely application process. Again, it's a lot of paperwork on my part. You just get to sign all the paperwork. So we have the cost share application. I'll go in and create a treatment plan. We have that cultural resource survey form. We do a TARL records check. I create multiple treatment maps. We make a general location map, an underground utility waiver, essentially saying if you have underground utilities, that's you already are wavering that out. The cultural resource acknowledgement form, and then a W-9 tax identification form for your future reference. Okay, Oak Wilt resources. So these are all of our offices that do Oak Wilt in this area primarily. Again, my office is in Mineral Wells, but if you have, let's say you have property down in the Waco area, your person would be in Hamilton, okay, or anywhere else. These are all of our offices in our regions that coincide. All right, so whenever I go out and do an Oak Wilt site visit, okay, we're looking to identify if it is even Oak Wilt. Okay, that is a huge step. So we're looking at the pattern of mortality. So we're looking at foliar symptoms as well, and then possibly taking a sample. Okay, if I cannot say for certain that it is Oak Wilt, I will generally guide you towards getting a sample taken before you move on to your next steps. Okay, because I'd rather you spend the $35 on a sample and a lab test than jumping right into the thousands of dollars for treatment. Okay. Then we go in and we discuss the management options. We talk about planting the other tree species. We talk about possibly injecting the oaks with the fungicide treatment. And then we also talk about possible trenching. Okay. A lot of times I don't jump the gun if I'm not certain that it's Oak Wilt until I know for sure. Okay. So I want to have a positive lab test before I even start talking about those other options, because it can get extremely overwhelming very fast for a lot of landowners. Especially when they're losing their trees, they get very emotional about it. All right, so again, we're gonna sit there and we're gonna identify those Oak Wilt symptoms. I'm gonna be walking around people's property, looking at those foliar symptoms, but I'm not just looking on the tree itself, I'm also looking on the ground, especially with those live oaks, okay? Live oaks will oftentimes hold that veinal necrosis pattern even after those leaves drop and turn brown, okay? It's gonna look a little bit different. Instead of being a nice green leaf, the outer portion of that leaf is going to be a tan color, but the vein is going to be a dark brown. Okay, so you can still sometimes see that pattern of veinal necrosis even after that leaf has fallen on the ground. So if I'm out there on your property and I'm not necessarily looking in your tree, I'm looking on the ground, that's why, because you can still see those foliar symptoms once those leaves have fallen. Okay, when we talk about trenching, okay, I'll talk to you about like where's the best place to put that trench. Okay, again, it's a minimum of 100 feet. Okay, so I've had a landowner ask, well, can I go further than that, because I know that my septic system will run in that area that you want to trench. Yes, you can most definitely go further out. Okay, you have to go at least 100 feet to qualify for the cost share program, and 100 feet to even be effective. Okay, but if you want to go further, you can definitely do that. Okay, especially if it's going to bypass some of your more expensive fixes, right? So you can see here on this map that was made for this treatment map, the red outlines that Oak Wilt center, and then the blue dotted line is going to be that trench line. Okay, so you'll get this, even if you don't want to do a cost share, like you just don't want to go through that process. I've had some people say that to me, that they don't want to deal with that. I'll send this over to them, they'll take care of it themselves. Okay, because they already have the equipment. They don't have to worry about, renting it or hiring someone. Okay. Okay. As far as injections, I will go out and help identify the good candidates to go ahead and treat. Okay, if your tree already has less than 50 to 30% of its canopy, it's not worth treating it at that point. Okay, it's more than likely not going to survive. Okay, a tree needs to have at least 30% of its canopy, just because think of the tree leaves like solar panels. Okay, those leaves give the tree the energy it needs to be able to bring up the water and the nutrients. If it doesn't have enough of those, it can't bring up that water and nutrients. It also can't bring up that fungicide, because again, we're injecting it into those xylem vessels, which are the water conducting vessels. Okay, so think of it that way. So we want to make sure that we're identifying good candidates. Okay, so you can see on this map right here, this is another treatment map where we're identifying good candidates to go ahead and treat. Okay, sometimes we'll expand it out past that, like here. Okay, so this is Oak Wilt in a neighborhood. The disease area was identified in 2021, and then the projected spread by 2023 is outlined by the blue. Okay, so we kind of have a good area of where people need to start probably doing injections or treatment options, right? Now, obviously, in an area like this, trenching is probably not going to be an option. So, but you'd be surprised, there is actually a couple of communities down in the Austin area where they did trench all throughout the neighborhood, and that was just kind of a mess. But all the neighbors came together and were like, we're gonna do this because we want to stop it. But that is a whole nother ballgame. So most people, again, neighbors don't like spending lots of money, especially if it's not in their budget. All right, does anyone have any questions for me? If you need it, my contact information is up here at the top. Again, I completely forgot my business cards. I normally keep them in my pocket and I completely forgot them. So you're more than welcome to take a photo of this and text me or call me or email me. I'm fairly easy to get a hold of. This QR code right here takes you to our link tree. There's different links on there that you can go to from that link tree website. And then we're also on social media on Facebook and on Instagram. All right. Any questions?
I
Yes.
have two from online. One is, this person said, I have learned about mycorrhizal fungi, and does that help as a defense at all?
No. Mycorrhizal fungi are going to help the tree, especially during droughty times, and encouraging the root growth. It's not going to stop the fungi because this oak wilt fungus, it's the very unique pathogen. Okay, because your tree can be perfectly healthy, 100% healthy, never been stressed, is good to go. Oak wilt can come in and kill that tree. Okay, I had a landowner in Glenrose that had a 300-year-old live oak, perfectly healthy tree, killed it in a matter of months. So mycorrhizal fungi are not going to be effective in preventing this.
Okay, the second question is, with planting a different species of tree, is the benefit from this mainly cost related or biodiversity based or both?
Both.
Repeat the question
Oh.
for the Zoomers.
Yeah, the question was, is planting a diversity of trees, is that, financially beneficial or
Biodiversity
or
based or both?
biodiversity based or financial, or both? And the answer is both. Okay. One, we want to have an increase in diversity just so that we have a healthy ecosystem, and also so you don't lose every single one of your trees in case we have another extreme weather event or pathogen come through. And then also financially, okay, if you were to go in and keep planting an oak tree in an area that had oak wilt, you're just going to keep reinfecting, and you're going to have to keep dilling out that money to deal with it. Yes. Yes, sir.
On my property, we had several, probably 20 live oak hell died, all except one. Is there any, think maybe the acorns, is it no reason that got exempted? I mean, I don't know why, it's in root contact with other trees. I can't imagine it wasn't. It's such close contact. So you think the acorns would grow a live oak that was not susceptible, perhaps, or any research
Okay.
on that?
The question was, is if, after live oaks have died off, if their acorns would be able to have some sort of defense against oak wilt, is how I understood that question, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. No, they won't. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see that happening. Yes.
A follow-up to that question, that example, that surviving tree, after those other trees around there had died, will that surviving tree have a good chance to continue to survive year after year?
Possibly. We definitely see that happen sometimes. Okay. The question was if that one surviving tree survived, are we going to see it survive in following years? There's a good chance that that live oak that survived didn't have an interconnected root system. Okay, there's definitely a good chance. Sometimes we see the fungus will actually skip over some trees because they don't have that interconnected root system. But a lot of times if they have that interconnected root system, they're done.
Following up again, so it's more that it didn't get infected by either of those transmission methods, rather than that it has this super immunity, so that the disease skipped over.
Yes. Okay, so the question was, it's more that the tree was skipped over than it had an immune system. Okay, trees do not have an immune system. Okay, that's extremely important. A lot of people get confused on this, but they do not have an immune system. Trees, whenever they get stressed or they have a wound, they have to live with that their entire life. Okay, so if you have 100-year-old tree, it has 100 years of disease or stressors affecting it. Okay. They do not have an immune system. That is the biggest thing. They don't learn to fight off pathogens like we do. Yes, sir.
The virus that kills the trees and the roots, the tree dies. It's a live oak tree. Theoretically, we can chop it up, burn it, it's dry, a year or two later, it's okay. How about the virus that's in the roots in the ground? What happens? Can you go plant another oak tree there with that kitchen?
No. So the question was, if you have an infected live oak tree that you've then cut down and you've kept the wood there and stored it before you burn it later on, can you plant a tree back in that same spot where that stump was? And the answer is no, because there's no guarantee if you were to dig up that stump that you're going to get every single root from that live oak out of the soil. Okay. Sometimes it can take a while for those roots to die off. Also, again, they could be grafted to other areas and be getting, nutrients from the other trees as well.
The virus will maintain its validity in a
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why a lot of times when people say that, they had an oak tree that died in their yard and, they want to replace that tree with another oak, why I tell them to not do that. Because there's a chance that, one, you didn't get all the root system up, and that new tree that you planted, that new oak, will graft its roots to the old root system and then get the fungus. So we've seen that happen multiple times.
What does the fungus live on? What nutrients does it need? It doesn't need the tree to be living?
It does. It needs the tree to be living.
Oh, it does.
I don't necessarily know if we know what inside the tree it's using, other than possibly the sap. But I mean, it's clogging up the tree.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was just wondering that root system.
I don't know if we know the answer, if it's utilizing something, but it does need the oak trees to survive. It's part of its cycle, its reproductive cycle.
And what kind of research is being done on this?
Repeat the question.
I was asked what type of research is being done on this. So I know that the Texas A&M Forest Service, in some of our offices down south, they're testing out trapping protocol with the beetle. But it's probably gonna be a long time until we do anything like that up here. And it's not really to control the population of this beetle, again, because there's multiple species of this beetle. It's just one genus. What we're trying to do is learn more about the beetle and its habits throughout the year, is really what we're targeting. As far as, what other research is being done, I don't know. Dr. Apple is the primary guy that does all the research on oak wilt, and he kind of goes back and forth on if he's retired or not. I don't know if he's decided. He's retired, I think, like 5 times now. So yeah, I honestly, I don't know. That's a good question though. I'm actually going to see him tomorrow because we're teaching an oak wilt class this week for arborists here in Texas. And so it's that way they can get qualified to identify and treat oak wilt. So we're doing that down in Glen Rose over the next few days.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yes.
What percentage of the canopy did you say would determine whether you did injections or not?
Okay. The question was, what percentage of the canopy would determine if I would recommend doing the injections or not? Anywhere from, if it's less than anywhere from 30 to 50%.
30 to 50% is there.
I would, if it's less than 50%, I would be not as likely to treat. Okay. Because another thing is that even if, let's say you have 50% of your canopy left. Okay, you treat it, it survives. That's as good as your canopy's ever going to look. Okay, so that's where my mind goes, is it even worth it? Okay, because that's as good as your canopy's ever gonna look. Not only is the fact is, if it doesn't have enough canopy, it's not gonna be able to bring up the fungicide, but also, is that really how you want your tree to look? Okay, or would you like a denser canopy? Okay, so that's something to take in consideration. Is it worth your money and worth your effort to treat that tree if that's as good as it's ever gonna look? I can't answer that for you. That comes down to what your values are and what you wanna spend your money on.
So if it's lost 30%, and has 70%.
I'd recommend treating it. Yeah, so the question was if it only lost 30% of its canopy and still had 70% of its canopy left, I would recommend treating it. I think that's still a good canopy to treat. Yes, sir.
What's your sense of professional tree trimming companies that are reputable companies, qualified, certified, that are aware of these practices, good practices? Actually use it.
Okay. That was a very long question, so I don't know if I can fully repeat that, but basically, my brain's not working. I swear I had caffeine just now.
How do you know if you have?
Okay, so how do you know if you found a good company that actually knows what they're talking about whenever it comes to oak wilt and the treatments and so forth? Knowing that you're actually spending good money essentially by having someone come out and treat your trees, make sure they actually know what they're talking about. I highly recommend hiring someone that is not only ISA certified, certified arborist, but also has the oak wilt qualification. Okay, that is really, really big. Okay.
How do you know if they?
How do you know if they have the ISA certified arborist certification or if they're ISA certified? Our list of vendors on the texasoakwilt.org website, okay, they have to be certified arborists, they have to be certified in oak wilt, and they also have to have a pesticide license. We want to make sure that they have all the qualification, not that you have to have the pesticide license to get a hold of the fungicide, but we want to make sure that they know what they're talking about whenever you hire them. Okay.
So Texas Forest Service has a list.
We have a list
on the website.
We have a list. Now, it's not a list of recommendation.
Right.
Okay. Any company that has those qualifications can request to be added to our list on that website. Okay. We're not going to discriminate. Okay. We're also not allowed to recommend one company over another. Okay. Because we are not allowed to take business away from individual company owners. Okay. That is big red flag. Okay. You can also go on to isatexas.com. I'll let y'all write that down. It's isatexas.com. Okay. On that home page, you will find a button that says find an arborist, and it's in the very center of the page. Okay. If you click on that, you go to your next page. On the left-hand side, it will say oak wilt help. Okay. If you click on that, you can search your location, and a list of certified arborists and people that are certified in oak wilt will pop up. So those are two places that you can find a list of certified arborists and certified in oak wilt. Okay. Yes, sir.
Are there any rules or regulations in Texas on when arborists certified or not certified can be cut down?
Okay. The question was, is there any regulation in the state for when arborists can prune oak trees or cut down the oak trees? The answer is no. There are some cities that have restrictions, but not every single one is going to have that. Okay. I know Austin has some pretty strict restrictions, but it is on a city by city basis. But no, there is not a regulation there for the state. Also, unfortunately, arboriculture is one of the only fields, or one of the few fields that does not require a license to have a business or to to work on trees.
In Texas.
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
It's one of the only ones. You do not have to be a certified arborist to have a tree company. You can on a whim decide that, oh, I'm gonna start a tree company. Not that you actually know what you're talking about, okay? So I highly recommend to not go onto Facebook to look for recommendations for a company. I recommend going to either isatexas.com or the texasoakwilt.org website. Those are, I can't recommend the certified arborist enough because they have to have a minimum of 4 years experience. If you have a college degree, your degree and 2 years of field experience count. Okay. You then have to take a nice, lovely test. You have to keep up with your continuing education credits. You have to follow an ethics standard, just in my opinion is a big deal. They have to follow an ethics standard. Okay. And then to be Oak Wilt qualified, you have to be certified arborist, and then you can sign up to take our Oak Wilt qualification class either in Glen Rose or down in the Fredericksburg area during the summer. So Glen Rose is generally in May. The Fredericksburg one is generally in June.
What's the cost of that class?
For the certified Oak Wilt, what's the cost of the class? I think it's around $200, maybe a little bit more. So I don't know. I don't pay for it. We have a deal with ISA because a huge part of our job is Oak Wilt. So we have a deal with ISA that we can go and take their class for free because that's a huge part of what we do. And we don't charge people for our services, right? Your tax dollars pay for us. So we're a non-biased opinion before you have to hire someone. Okay. So I'm technically not a certified arborist. I'm working on that. I'm going to take my certified arborist class this fall, and then I'm going to take my test. But I had to wait a minimum of 2 years after getting my degrees and having 2 years experience before I can take that test. But I'm already I'm Oak Wilt qualified. So, because we're allowed to jump the gun. Again, we're a state agency. We get to bend the rules a little. So, any other questions?
Thank you.
Cool.
I think you hit the record on questions.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And visitors.
And visitors, yes. Thank you so much,
You're
Kimberlee.
welcome.
Well, and I hope we can invite you back to do some other topic
Oh,
in the
yeah.
next few months.
And real quick, before y'all leave, if y'all are wanting little pamphlets on Oak Wilt, I brought a little one pager. There's also a little door hanger that has a calendar of when the optimal time to prune your oak trees. There's also the bigger pamphlet for Oak Wilt. There's not as many of those. I was running out. But also if you're wanting information on emerald ash borer and to know more information on that, I also brought some of those pamphlets as well, because that is something that we are dealing with here. And we've added 5 new counties to the list this year so far. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, before we close the meeting, I have an announcement. Does anybody else have an announcement, an upcoming event? So you guys are all checking the newsletter and your emails, right? About upcoming volunteer opportunities. My announcement is that I will be moving into the immediate past president position. And there's one responsibility off of our dear friend, Bill Collins. And we now have an opening for vice president. So if you know someone who's interested, or if you are interested and willing to serve, and Mary Beth, vice president would find the speakers. Also finds our vice president, one of their main responsibilities are finding speakers, and you have some speakers already lined up for the next several months. She does. Also serving on the board, that's a Zoom meeting, and that qualifies for volunteer hours. And serving in place of the president, but Mary Beth doesn't get to leave till at the earliest after December. So please let me know, Sharon Hamilton, or you can email president@ctmn.org, and I hope that goes to Mary Beth now, Frank, and she'll get it to me. So we love to have some newer folks on our board.
We have 2 chocolate cakes that say thank you, Sharon, on them. They're chocolate with chocolate mousse filling. So please have some cake. Take some home. We don't want anything left here tonight. And thank you, Sharon.
Do I need to read some numbers?
Oh, here's how the raffle's going to work
No
tonight.
numbers?
If you donate
a donation, now don't stomp on anyone, don't stomp on anybody. Please come and get a door prize.
Let me stop it. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what?
What you will need to do is and then you have to make sure you probably have not entered any data
The other disease that's affecting our parks is hypoxia and canker.
Oh, really?
And Kimberlee is very good at that.
Okay.
So,
We need to get her information on that.
yeah, she would be good.
Okay. I need to know what that is. Sure, that'd be great.
Because I know we have it in one of your parks. I have 5 trees.
Oh, no, what kind?
So that's another thing.
I think so. Yeah, I'm worried about my live oaks, but what can I do?
The trenches are.
I've got live oak, red oak. My first street does too. Trying to figure out, here we go.